Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be comparing the classic 270 Winchester to what some people would say the newer, better version of the 270 Winchester. That is the 7mm-08 Remington. So we're going to look at both of these cartridges. We're going to see how they compare to each other. We're going to crown one winner between the two. Winchester introduced the 270 Winchester in 1925. They introduced it in their new rifle, the Model 54, which is the predecessor to the Model 70. And the whole idea with Winchester was that they were going to provide a 30-06 type cartridge that's flatter. So it's going to have better trajectory in normal hunting distances. And they did just that. It is a bit of an odd diameter for a bullet, especially back in the 20s. They went with a .277 inch diameter bullet. Maybe they could have gone with a 7mm, but they kind of went with the odd one, the 277. This cartridge has been very successful. It's really the only popular 270 cartridge. There aren't a lot of 270s. As in, there's a 270 WSM, a 270 Weatherby, a 27 Nosler, but the one that most people get is this one. So let's look at the performance of the 270 Winchester. You could shoot a bullet that's, a 100 grain bullet, and you can shoot that 3,500, a 110, near 3,500 again. And then what most people hunt with is the 130 grain. And the reason they hunt with the 130 grain is, look at the velocity. Over 3,100 feet per second. So it's a fast cartridge. And technically this is not a Magnum, but I believe it does provide Magnum type performance. In 1980, Remington produced in a factory cartridge and a factory rifle this very popular Wildcat, the 7mm-08. And as you can imagine, the 7mm-08 is just a .308 neck down to 7mm. And it is surprisingly a darn good cartridge. It's becoming a very popular cartridge these days, and a lot of people think it's the best version of the .308 case. And I kind of have to agree. Well, I think the .308 just is a tad bit better, but I really do see why people absolutely love the 7mm-08. The bullets that most hunters use in the 7mm-08 Remington is usually the 140 grain to the 150 grain. Let's look at the performance of the 140. And it's going 2,900 feet per second, almost 2,950. This is the bullet we're going to be comparing, the bullet size, to the 270 Winchester. And a lot of people hunt with the 150 grain, and it's giving you great velocities of mid 2,800 feet per second. So you're really getting a ton of performance for how small this case is. With these two cartridges being very close in size, as in caliber, they're going to have close to the same bullet weights. In fact, a lot of them are the same bullet weight. And so which one is quicker? Well, I'm sure you can guess by the case capacity that the 270 is indeed faster. But how much faster is it? Well, let's go ahead and look at that. The 7mm-08 is pushing that 140 grain bullet at 2,900, maybe a little bit more. The 270 Winchester is pushing a 140 grain bullet at 3,000 feet per second. And so you're going to get, on average, 100 feet per second more with the same bullet size. Let's get in a little more of the details. The case capacity for each of these. The 270 Winchester has, with a 140 grain bullet, about 64 grains of water capacity in the case, while the 7mm-08 has 48.5 grains of case capacity. So you're getting more efficiency, quite a bit more efficiency out of the 7mm-08 Remington. Now let's look at the ballistics, the downrange performance for each of these cartridges to see how similar they are. The bullet we're going to use for both of these cartridges is the LRX, the Barnes LRX bullet. Okay, we're going to use the 129 grain LRX in the 270 Winchester with a BC of .469, muzzle velocity of 3,100 feet per second. Your energy is mid 2,700 foot-pounds. Now look over to the right at the recoil. This is surprisingly high, I think. The 30-06 is going to recoil just a little bit more. In fact, I've shot both cartridges, and honestly, it's really hard to tell the difference in recoil between a 270 and a 30-06. Anyway, let's just go out to typical hunting distances, out to 400 yards. The bullet's going 2,300 feet per second, which is pretty important when you're using a monolithic bullet. I would say this is probably about the max in this cartridge because you want it to open up still. And I think 2,300 is kind of pushing it for it to still open up. And the energy is still plenty out at 400 yards at 1,550 foot-pounds of energy. And the drop, only 23 inches of drop. So again, Winchester definitely succeeded in providing a flatter version of a 30-06. Now looking at the 7mm-08 Remington with a 139 grain LRX bullet, BC of .470. So that's why I'm using different weights, is to match the BC. Okay, muzzle velocity is a little lower at 29-25, and then you're going to have about 100 foot-pounds less of energy at the muzzle. But check out the recoil, noticeably less. And I've noticed it. The 7mm-08 doesn't have a lot of recoil. The best way for me to describe it is it's snappy. Okay, out to 400 yards, it's definitely going slower, and I'm not sure you'd want to push an LRX bullet out to 400 yards going just 2180. Might not open up very well. And then the energy about 100 foot-pounds less. And then, it's not significantly lower in the drop, but it's about 3 inches. So it's not bad. I definitely think this is a great deer cartridge. And if you're not a fan of the 270, this is a very good substitute for the 270. So to recap, the 270 Winchester is faster, it's flatter, but the 7mm-08 Remington is a bit more efficient. Something I didn't really mention was the 7mm-08 is more versatile, at least with the bullet selection, due to the 270 Winchester, most rifles having a 1 in 10 twist. I could shoot up to a 175 grain bullet in a 7mm-08 Remington. I can't do the same in a 270 Winchester. So there's more bullet selection. There's less recoil with not a lot less performance. A year ago, I had the choice for a new cartridge that I wanted to get. Specifically, I wanted a cartridge that was kind of a middle-of-the-road power that my son eventually could use to hunt with, deer and elk. And I picked up the 270 Winchester. I don't regret it. But after doing a bunch of load development with it and shooting it, if I had the choice again, I would probably pick up a 7mm-08 Remington. As I said, it has less recoil. My son, he's not quite the age to hunt yet, and he's shot the 270 Winchester. He certainly didn't enjoy the recoil on the 270, and I know that the 7mm-08 is a bit better in the recoil department. They're both great cartridges. I mentioned that the 7mm-08 was the new, better version. I don't think the 270 Winchester will ever be replaced everyone still has a special place in their heart for the 270 Winchester, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. You can't go wrong with either of these cartridges. Let me know which one you think would win. And I did say I was going to pick a winner, and I have to go with the 7mm-08 Remington.